Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and as always, welcome to the show. Thank you to everybody who's coming in and checking it out. We really appreciate it. We love it when you guys stop by and say hello. And if you haven't already, check out the podcast. It's our very own Ruger Ridge appeared on the podcast and did a phenomenal job talking about his experiences. And and if you like the way it sounds, be sure to give our good friend, my co-host, the producer of the Paranormal Portal podcast, Mr. Don Longbeard, a big thank you.
Wow. Ruger, thank you. I do appreciate that. But, you know, it's simple when you got somebody with just a great voice that just has this great modulation. You made it simple for me to do the job. You're perfect. Thank you. And it was a good episode, too, Doc. Oh.
It really was. It was a good episode, and thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experiences. We're getting a lot of people wanting to be on the show, and unfortunately, we can only do so many, and we do, to an extent, screen them because, of course, everybody's experiences are amazing, but, it's just one of those things where it's not, unfortunately, we don't have time slots for everybody's stories, but we'll do our best always to get you recorded and get you on the show. Okay, so first off, we do have an announcement, ladies and gentlemen, and this is one I'm excited to make because this is the work of our good friend and his group, Mr. Stephen Majors, and his group at Extreme Expeditions Northwest, LLC, has now posted and made available their newest expedition biography or documentary. Sorry, it just looks like blur. What's the word? Their newest documentary about their research in Sullivan Creek, which is right up in the Washington area. That's near where we were, right, Don?
Yeah, it's
when we were at Meadowing Falls.
It is Meadowing Falls. Yeah,
it's Meadowing Falls.
Area,
yeah. Yep. So. And ladies and gentlemen, you can find it right now. As of today, it's available on Vimeo, and you can see on the screen, it's 3 Expeditions, Sullivan Creek Sasquatch, a documentary film about the researchers and the evidence they found. And so we can check out the trailer if you guys don't mind.
Yeah,
let's do that. So let's check out the trailer here and just see what's going on in Sullivan Creek.
One summer.
Bigfoot research is essential business.
3 expeditions.
They caught something big and hairy on 2 feet running across the road. 6
men and a guy with a camera searching for Bigfoot.
There's been a number of knocks.
The research.
So one of the best places to track is obviously by the riverbank.
The stories.
He said he's seen that deer go way up in the air.
The techniques.
This has been 10 years of research.
The evidence they found.
Just wait till you see what we found down there.
A documentary film with an inside look at the world of Bigfoot research. Sullivan Creek Sasquatch.
Sullivan Creek Sasquatch is now available on DVD. If you'd like to purchase a copy, I've provided a link down below.
There you have it, folks. There it is, right from our friends at Extreme Expeditions Northwest, LLC.
That's juicy.
That is juicy, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been using that word a lot today. I'm sorry.
It's juicy.
Juicy.
That's all right. We like juicy, but it looks really good. And folks, if you get a chance and you want to check out what they've been doing and the work they put in, that's awesome. As you can see, Adam Davis is there. Will Ulmer made an appearance there. Who else? Bill Bassan was in there.
Yeah, Adam Davis.
Yeah, I said him first.
I'm only partially here. Did you say Stephen Major?
Stephen Majors, of course, was the spearhead of that effort as well. So definitely check it out, and we hope you guys enjoy it and let us know what you think. because these are good friends of ours. I know that they work really hard and stuff. So check out their work, help support their work. You know, these kind of things, these efforts and these expeditions are largely self-funded. You know, this is people doing it because they're passionate about what they're doing, you know, and so it's their blood, sweat, and tears. So this is their opportunity to showcase all of that effort, all of that field work, and to put it on into a format that everyone can enjoy from the comfort of their own home. And by God,
stay home.
Stay home.
Oh my God,
it's so hot here. Oh my God, don't go outside right now. Even Sasquatch is like, hell with this.
Oh, screw that. I need a shave.
It's now bald squatch. They're all bald squatching
big
out
balls, there. Big bald foot.
Yeah, big bald foot. Yeah, there you have it. But definitely check it out.
That didn't come out right, but whatever.
No, it didn't. But I rolled with it because we're a team, Don. That's what teammates do. So that's available now on Vimeo. Check it out. As always, we got a lot to cover tonight. I saw another UFO today. Wow, Nessie, cool. I if you can record those, that'd be great. I'd love to showcase it on the show. Let people know what you're seeing. If you're able to record them with your cell phone or whatever, send us the video. I'd love to put it up here and let people see what you're catching. That's really, really cool. I got to get back out. It's been so damn hot. It's like, no, I don't want to go outside. It's humid and very, very fiery up here in the Pacific Northwest. So. And it is in a lot of places along the West Coast here, right, Don?
It's amazing what happens when you're only 20 miles from the sun.
Yeah.
Jesus, it's only 12 Kelvin. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll be okay. Because you know what? As hot as it gets, as miserable as the heat may feel, I'll still take that over snow. I will take this over snow every day of the week because I don't like snow much. Yeah, funny I live up here, right? But anyway, folks, that's the big announcement I wanted to make right off the bat because, of course, Stephen Majors and Extreme Expeditions Northwest LLC has been a great supporter of the Paranormal Portal.
Have. Awesome.
And it's our extreme pleasure to give back and to spread the love to all of you that are out there listening because, they're great guys.
That's questions.
All right. What?
I'm just still laughing about that.
Oh, yeah. I got a paranormal experience that relates to Native American mythology that my girlfriend reminded me about that I will email. Yeah, please do. I'd love to hear it. All right, guys. So we got a lot to go through tonight here on the show. We are going to be, of course, getting into the paranormal goodness that we always do, but the phone lines will be open if you want to call in and be a part of it. We'd love for you to do that. I should probably actually connect those, huh, Don?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
This is my Wednesday funk. It's always hard for me to get back into the groove.
We were only like 3 minutes late tonight.
No, we were like 5 minutes, but who's counting? Oh, wait, I was.
Yeah.
I looked at the clock and went 5 after. Oops. All right, so it's typical for us. We get to gum running here, and the next thing we know, it's 45 minutes has gone by. So
what the heck?
Let's connect the phones so that when you do call in, it'll matter. That was it.
Ruger says it turned out really good considering what he had to work with. Well, when you've got sterling silver and you can turn it into pure silver, it works. So
it was wonderful. I mean, it was a good. First of all, if you haven't heard it, you got to listen to Ruger's voice. Awesome. If you haven't heard Ruger speak, you feel like you want to buy insurance. He's got that Wilford Brimley thing going on,
or at least some Quaker Oats.
Quaker Oats, some whatever he pitched, whatever other thing he pitched. I think it was some kind of life insurance. Or something.
It was like Penn Life.
Yeah, Mutual Penn or something.
Life or something.
Colonial Penn, yeah. Colonial Penn. Something like that. But I mean, he's just got that smooth delivery that you just kind of relax into, and I almost forget that I was hosting. I was hosting him on the show. I was like, keep talking. It's just a really soothing tone. It was nice to listen to.
You're making it real simple for us, partner.
Yeah, you made it really easy. So
salesman voice, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, check out, that's our latest podcast. It's The Long Strange Trip with Ruger Ridge, and it's available now on all the major podcast platforms. So check it out. It wouldn't mean the world.
Ruger says, eat your oatmeal.
Just say, shut up and eat your oatmeal. I want you to do a soundbite for me. Shut up and eat your oatmeal.
We should have, this is Wilford Brimley. and you're listening
No,
to.
Wilford Brimley sues the hell out of anybody if he's still around.
dead.
Well, somebody will
been
probably
gone for
sue
a
on his
long
behalf
time.
then.
Well, that might be true.
That's probably true. But anyway, let's get to it, folks. I hope you all are ready because it's about to get creepy up in here. There we go, Don. We are now officially underway here on the Paranormal Portal. Woohoo! And what better way than to be underway than to go to our first favorite segment of these 2-hour shows, the news.
The news.
All right, folks, welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk. I'm your anchor, Brent Thomas, co-anchor, Mr. Don Longbeard, and we're going to bring you the news, at least the news as we see it, which
As we find it.
as we find it and as we bring it to you. This is accumulated over hours and hours of burning through the interwebs, or just visiting unexplainedmysteries.com. Which I find to be a great source for the Paranormal Portal news. That's a one-stop shop for me, folks. I don't have to go any further than to go to unexplained-mysteries.com and just look at their latest offerings. It's really cool. I love this site. Definitely support them. What? Uh-oh.
I just saw your post from yesterday.
Oh.
Not sure how you're all beating the heat, but I've been toying with the idea of nude ice bathing. Like, what?
I am so hot.
Where's the ice water challenges when you need them?
I know, right? That's, well, first of all, somebody said, oh, you record it first and I'll market it. And I was like, no, we have to market that under horror.
Yeah, no doubt.
There's some things that you just don't want to see.
Dawn in a bikini and a banana sling.
Yeah, or Brent
Or
in a banana.
Actually, it'd be more like
sling.
a peanut sling.
What'd you say?
Peanut sling.
Oh, God. You said peanut. Okay. I was like, what?
No, but I just pulled up this thing with Peter Kane in it. And this is where he was talking about being used by a Yowie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this
Wow.
guy's out there.
Poor guy. All right. Well, they need loving too, Don, I think. First article tonight we're going to get to is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. And this is UFO whistleblower speaks out on resignation. And it's none other than having to do with Luis Elizondo, who's talking apparently.
Is he still alive?
He's still alive. I don't know. I don't know. He's got to be ruffling some feathers. But former intelligence official Luis Elizondo spoke on a recent TV interview about exactly why he resigned. Elizondo, who previously headed up the Pentagon's secretive Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. I always run out of air when I read that. It's such a long title. Has maintained in recent months that he's been the target of disinformation campaign. He spoke out in more detail on the situation during an appearance on the Fox special TMZ Investigates UFOs, the Pentagon Proof with Harvey Levin.
TMZ?
On Tuesday. I guess so. Yeah, they're scraping the bottom there, aren't they? No offense to TMZ. Mostly it's just trash journalism.
Nor Elizondo.
Yeah. Elizondo has long maintained that the government is in possession of exotic material and handed in his resignation back in 2017 after 22 years of service because his superiors refused to present his findings to then Secretary of Defense James Mattis. I was facing significant resistance informing some of those most senior levels of DoD leadership about our findings, he said, and I wrote in my resignation letter what I thought the boss needed to hear, and that was that these things are real. That we have real evidence from not only trained observers, but electro-optical devices, and also from radar data, and that these things were operating with impunity within controlled U.S. airspace. The release of the U.S. government's official report on UFOs has since added credence to Elizondo's claims by confirming the existence of unidentified objects off the coast of North America. He told Levin that the Pentagon has gone so far as to threaten his security clearance and is now claiming that he was never even part of the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. That's a very clear way of saying, hey, you better mind your manners. You better shut up. Otherwise, we're going to shut you up, he said. I don't know if I'm going to have a job tomorrow, to be quite honest with you.
He's got the TTBSA.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. Tom DeLong will take care of him. I don't know Luis Elizondo at all, and I don't know. I don't have any bone to pick with the guy. I just their handling of the exotic materials they did have, and then entering into cooperation with the U.S. military to research those materials, I thought was
Here,
absolutely.
you can have them right back.
Yeah, I know. It's like, really? We found these too to go with your collection. It's just, it was such a bad choice because I think that, if these exotic materials could be. What was that?
That was my phone.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was doing is turn it off.
Oh, very, very good. But these materials may be able to help us, whether it's new semiconductors that'll make electricity and electrical engineering so much more efficient, or it's structural materials that are so much more cost effective and sturdy and reliable than the traditional ones, or whatever the case may be. To enter into an agreement with the military is just like, all you're ensuring is that they're going to have better guns, or something. And I'm not anti-military, don't get me wrong, but it's just, I think that all of these things will
be used to make money for the quiet economy
exactly.
that we don't have anything to do with.
Right. They won't benefit the masses. It'll benefit a very specific group of people, and I think that's unfortunate because
it ain't gonna be us.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like George Carlin, right?
Right.
And this club exists, and you're not in it.
You're not in it.
Yeah, so I don't have any bone to pick with him as a person. I'm sure he's a fantastic guy. I've never met him, but I just think that they really entered into the wrong plan for the materials that they did have in their possession. So that's my big, I guess, complaint with the To the Stars Academy. That and their stupid name. That is the dumbest name I've ever heard of. It sounds like they're looking for the next star search. It's like, come on. Those are my only two complaints. But anyway, let's get back to the news. There's more to get to, of course. The next article is human brains. I think this is funny because I think it's called memories, Don. I think they just finally realized that we have memories, folks.
Oh, my goodness.
I saw this article and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Well, here it is from unexplained-mysteries.com. Human brains are capable of mental time travel.
Wow.
Really? I've mentally time traveled all the time.
What is deja vu?
Huh?
I bet you it's mental time traveling.
Maybe. But I think it's kind of a silly, at least on the face of it. I didn't.
Look, the government has to give away X money and grant money every year.
Oh,
so,
okay.
We
should start a study about something, Don.
Yeah.
Let's think about that. Let's put on our thinking caps and try to come up with some of that.
Yeah, the likelihood of you guys seeing me in a Speedo. Studies say there's a 0% chance. Statistics are not good. Thank you for $100,000 for me to just go ahead and say that.
It's like anti-sex appeal.
What are you saying, Brent?
It's like that old joke.
I have kids.
This might offend people, and I'm sorry if it does, but I gotta say it. What's the one food that'll ruin your sex life? Wedding cake.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that is so stupid, but it just cracks me
true.
up. Oh, Don. All right. I just had to go there. I'm sorry. This is the trouble I have hosting a show, is that this is the stuff that's floating behind my tongue that I have to keep choking back. I'm like, I can't let it out. Every once in a while, something sneaks through, and you guys were here for it. Oh, God. I've even heard of UFO podcasts talking trash about not trusting Lewis.
Right.
But I haven't seen any reason not to trust him. Yeah, I mean, who knows?
Well, okay, so here's the deal. So if anybody read the preliminary report that was released the other day, here's the thing. First of all, if they were supposed to release information, why was there a preliminary report?
Sure.
That just means, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. You know what that preliminary report said? We don't know anything. We can explain 80% of it. We write off, 15% is this, and then 5%. Well, that's not worth investigating.
Wow,
That's basically what they said.
Sounds like Project Blue Book. Yeah.
Nothing to see here. Move along.
Move along, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, let's get to the human brain time traveling, and then we'll see where else we end up. Scientists have been unraveling the brain's peculiar ability to organize memories in chronological order. What?
Chronological order?
Yeah, that's called age.
When I was 5, I dreamed I was being chased by a giant gorilla and I could fly.
When I was 5, I had a fever dream that Frankenstein and Dracula were making toast in my kitchen. That's a true story, by the way.
I know.
It was a nightmare. I was terrified.
A nightmare. All they were doing was making toast.
I know, but I didn't like them making toast in my kitchen.
I had Minnie Paisley one day. She was telling me, she said, I had a scary dream. I said, what was that dream? Well, it was about Frankenstein and Dracula and some other weird, something scaries. And I said, okay, what were they doing? They were playing golf. Like they were playing golf? That's scary.
That's creepy.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, look, Frank, a hole in one.
You got to do the laugh. That was one. The one stroke.
It was a hole in one. 1, 2.
Oh my God! Yeah,
But
well, golf is a scary game.
It depends on if you're drunk or not.
And ladies and gentlemen, Don and I are currently not drunk.
Not drunk.
This is just the normal. This is our baseline. It only gets worse from here if we're drinking. All right, let's get to the science and memories.
Yes.
So when you recall memories of a past experience, you don't usually recollect the entire thing at once, but in the order in which those events happened. Why? What? Like playing back a recording of your experiences.
No kidding.
Wow. Okay. This is news? Exactly how this functionality works inside the human brain has long remained a bit of a mystery, but now a team of experts headed up by neuroscientist Lila Reddy at the French National Center for Scientific Research has finally made progress in understanding which parts of the brain are responsible.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Does that mean they can implant memories once they figure out how we're getting the ones we got?
Inception.
Yeah. By monitoring the brains of patients while they recalled past events, the researchers found evidence to suggest a robust representation of time in the human hippocampus. That's a part of your brain, by the way. This reveals a representation of an internal or inherent flow of time that was not driven by something going on in the external world, Reddy told Vice in an email. Why is this news? This is a memory. By studying these time cells within the hippocampus, scientists can not only learn more about how we recollect past events, but also make progress in tackling health conditions that impact memory. That's kind of cool. I can appreciate. Yeah. The hippocampus is important in judging the temporal order of events, among other things, and damage to the hippocampus can result in an impairment of memory for temporal order. For example, remembering the order of a list of items, said Reddy. It's therefore important to understand how temporal information is represented in the brain, so as to be able to design interventions or treatments to reduce these deficits in memory. Understanding the mechanism for encoding time and memory will be an important area of research. I think it could. Okay, so now I see the merit of it. Of course, with dementia and Alzheimer's disease, those are heartbreakers because people just lose the ability to remember these things. And I know there are several people that wrestle with this. I've experienced it several times myself, and it's hard to see people diminished like that. So maybe that's really cool, really exciting. I hope so.
Yeah, that would be really that. Okay, delve deeper into that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
on the surface of it, it's like, really? But once you delve into the idea that, maybe they can help people recover their memory,
Right.
and, find other ways to stimulate that, then that's kind of cool. Okay, next article.
I want to backpedal real quick.
Sure.
Paisley's in the chat, and we were talking about giving grant money to study things.
Uh-huh.
She says study about the interactions of cryptids with people in urban settings.
Uh-huh.
See, why is she not a?
She
why
can
is
be our grant writer.
Yeah, exactly. Go for it. She's written grants. I know she.
Oh,
has.
good. Okay.
Or
there you go.
Something.
She's a practiced hand.
There you go.
All right, we'll roll with that.
Practiced ham.
She's a kitchen witch, so she's got practice with ham. All right, so let's get to the next one. And this is kind of an interesting one. I don't know what this means for sure, but it sounds pretty intense. And this is an article from unexplained-mysteries.com. Mystery as thousands of pigeons disappear. This is from the 29th of June, so just yesterday.
Hi, Gary.
Hi, Gary. Gary who?
Gary Lynn.
Gary Lynn. Good to see you, Gary. Welcome back.
No, I said Carrie Lynn.
Oh, jeez. You can tell him that. I ain't telling him that.
Oops, did I say that out loud on the mic?
Mr. Game of Thrones is going to come pounce on your head.
Yeah.
The pigeon's disappearance remains a mystery. Many thousands of... All right, hairball. Many thousands of racing pigeons have disappeared without a trace after setting off from Peterborough. Did they win?
Wow, apparently not. They didn't show up.
They just went to a different race.
They're like, screw it, we're migrating today. It's too hot.
I'm going home.
I'm going out.
Officials are left flummoxed on June 19th when 10,000 pigeons failed to show up at their destination after leaving Peterborough on a routine flight that should have taken just 2 hours. The pigeons were taking part in short races, and most should have been home in a couple of hours, said Ian Evans, chief executive of the Royal Pigeon Racing Association. Wow, it's RPRA. But at a time when we would expect more than 90% home, we had only 10% home.
Wow.
We are looking into magnetic field activity, but at the moment there has been no credible explanation as to what happened. We're still scratching our heads. As the days went by, a small number of pigeons started showing up all over the place. Some were found in West Cork, Ireland, while others seemed to be exhibiting unusual scratches. There's even been sightings of the birds as far away as Majorca. Where's Majorca? A long way away, I guess. Okay. I don't know where it is.
So far away from here.
Yeah. I've had pigeons for 36 years, and I've never known anything like it, said Evans. Something might have happened 50 or 60 years ago when weather forecasting was not as good, but with the weather forecasting available now, it's unprecedented in modern pigeon racing. That's interesting because what if it is something to do with the ley lines or the magnetic field of the Earth, which many people postulate that that's how they find their way.
Right.
Is by following a magnetic beacon of sorts.
Nessie says Majorca's in Spain. That's correct. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it, yeah.
I didn't know
I
that.
remember now.
Thank you very much. I'm very geographically challenged, and I'm not afraid to admit it.
Uh-oh.
I am. But that is curious. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me much. I mean, we're sitting at 105 yesterday and 102 today.
I think I have scrambled eggs for brains.
Yeah, I know. In North Idaho. I mean, this is unprecedented weather up here, so I think things are. No, I'm not an alarmist. Just for the record, folks, I'm not an alarmist, but I do think it's safe to say that we are definitely experiencing maybe a very natural biorhythm of the Earth, but a very abrupt and weird one. I don't think that it's necessarily man-made and stuff as some people would purport. I know we've done things to impact the environment, and I don't mean to minimize that, but I think there is cycles to the Earth, and we haven't been writing down things for long enough to really know, and we have a lot to learn. So
I think it's just making up for last summer.
what if it's the polar shift, Don?
Oh, don't talk about that. I might have to look up the current degree of tilt now.
There you go. Why don't you look into that?
Oh gosh, okay.
I mean, that's a great question. What if it has changed and there's something at work there? Very curious, but I mean, really, we're sitting at 100 and some degrees up here. Wow.
Idaho is the first rock from the sun.
It appears to be, at least this week. But yeah, that's pretty wild stuff. So there's pigeons running amok. Anyway, folks. Amok. All right, so the next article has to do with our big furry friends, the big forest people known as Bigfoot. And this is, or Baldfoot, as Don said. Let's get to this one. This is unexplained-mysteries.com. Bigfoot stories abound in upstate New York, and that's, of course, where Blue Line Bigfoot is, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So visitors and residents alike have described encounters with a strange screaming creature in the region. Michael Guimond hails from Messina, has been on his way home along County Road 37 at around 11:30 p.m. on June 20th when something very strange happened. Writing on Facebook, he described a fast-moving creature that crossed the road 50 feet from his car. I was going 60. It crossed the road from right to left in less than a second, he wrote. It was not a deer. I've seen plenty of deer. This thing was brown or gray, shaggy, and had arms and legs that moved in a circular motion. It was Scooby-Doo. Sorry. You remember in the cartoons when their legs turned into wheels? Yeah. I don't know. It was funny in my head.
Let's get out of here, Scoob.
Yeah, Reggie. After his story was posted, several other people came forward and described similar experiences. One of them, Eric Lausen, had been plagued by encounters with a mysterious creature in the area for years. The woods at the back of my house went on for miles and miles, he wrote. I was out there a couple of nights, and I kept hearing a loud screaming noise, and it sounded like nothing I've ever heard before in my life. Sounds like a mix between an elephant and a bear, and it goes right through you. It's deafening. In the summer of 2013, when it started getting really bad, every night I would have company over, and every time we were outside, we would hear this thing screaming. One day I came home from work at 8 a.m. and my neighbors were all outside while I was at work. One of them ran through my yard and destroyed my birdhouse. There was a big footprints through the whole yard and hair stuck in my fence. Wow, that's pretty wild.
Stuck in the fence.
Yep.
What kind of hair?
Imagine Bigfoot hair.
Not if they're Baldfoot.
I'm not going to speculate on where the hair came from. There's some parts that are hard to get to. Some parts are hard to get to, Don.
I bet they are.
Might have been flossing on the fence there. I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't know. It's possible. But no, that's pretty wild. And that's kind of interesting because it does seem like more and more people are experiencing some weird stuff.
Right.
In terms of our big cryptid cousins in the forest. So you never know. But it sounds like big Blue Line Bigfoot should be
investigating that.
Checking this out. Yeah.
Get him up there.
Where is Jake in the chat?
No, I don't see him.
Oh, 10 demerits for Jake and Adam. All right. Well, we'll just have to let them know that this stuff's going on in their neck of the woods. All right. So this one is, I don't know what is a Jarkand alien, but this has to do with an alien that was recorded, folks, and we'll take a look at this video. It says, weird Jarkand alien video emerges online. This is from the 1st of June, 2021. And it says, footage showing a strange, thin humanoid entity walking on a road has attracted a lot of attention on social media. The peculiar video, which is reportedly filmed on the Chadwa Dam Bridge in Jharkhand's Hazaribagh district in India, shows what many people are claiming to be an alien entity. Exhibiting abnormally thin limbs and an unnaturally white complexion, the stick figure can be seen walking on the highway in the dark, illuminated only by the headlights of the oncoming traffic. Several bikers can also be seen approaching and speeding past the strange figure. The source, on condition of anonymity, went on to share his personal experience, a local road authority told the Republic Media Network. She claimed that she and her colleagues had been going down the route for years now and have gone in the morning and at night, and sometimes even at 1 to 2 a.m., but have never spotted anything of that sort. So what is going on in this video? Could this really be an alien or just someone pulling a prank? You can check out the footage for yourself below. I don't know if we can check it out. It's from Know Your News, and I don't want to step on anybody's copyrights, but I can put a link in the chat if you guys want to take a look at the video. I don't want to incur the wrath of YouTube. Or
living on the edge.
Nope, I'm living comfortably in the grooves. Paranormal Portal, me and Steph like your jokes. But our favorite was when you read a story about someone playing Pokemon Go and saw something paranormal and you said, wow, can you believe the graphics?
What?
I don't know. It's a story I must have covered a long time ago about somebody playing Pokemon Go.
You know, I just saw a story. Oh, it was I don't even know the name. These guys, they make these really funny videos. Some of them are just dumber than anything. But I find them on YouTube or Facebook, and I don't know who it is, but they were like, playing Pokemon Go.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was something about having a paranormal experience or something. But they make so many of these videos. I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, weird. Okay.
Very weird. But folks, that's going to wrap up what I had lined up for you for the Paranormal Portal news. I hope you enjoyed this broadcast and stay tuned for our regularly scheduled program. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for sticking with us as we continue through the Paranormal Portal. And thank you to everybody who is here. We got a bunch of you here. Don, why don't we do some shout-outs, see who's here?
Well, we need to scratch G off the list because she's being rude to me.
What?
What's new? Love you, G. Oh, look, nobody's chatting. So we got Android, we got Digger, we got Drake, we got Elaine, we got Gary there. Yeah. Nessie's here, Ruger Ridge is here, Titan, and YTFP Chris. And Sugar Bridge has just decided to put in something to say.
All right.
So we'll mention Sugar Britches. And, well, okay, one more. Let's see. Rachel gets it right, of course. She's here. All right, thanks. We're done playing. Thanks. Bye.
Is that it?
Well, that's all that anybody was.
Oh, if you want to get a shout out, you gotta say something in the chat.
Justin's here.
Justin is here.
Justin's here.
I was just rewatching.
Just in time.
He's just in time. Just a few minutes late.
Tracy Gale's here.
Awesome. Great to see you guys. Thank you all for coming in. I was just watching, Justin, our feed when we were in Medellin Falls. When you were hanging out with Don and I, that was a lot of fun. And we saw, a Bob Gimlin. We saw Russ Cord. We saw Ken Gerhard. Mm-hmm. And we saw all of the fun and festivities, including Stephen Major was there.
Yeah,
talked to us. That was a lot of fun.
You know, our friend Deanna got a great picture. She was posing with Bob, and in the background, you can see, like, Russ doing, like, an action shot. He was, like, running towards her, and you could just see him like this. And I was like, oh, check Russ out. She goes, yeah, that's an action shot. It's like,
he's a really funny guy. I mean, he's just got a great sense of humor.
He's actually awesome. I like
him. He's one of those guys. And ladies and gentlemen, you'd think someone like, Russ, who's been on TV and he's, done the Expedition Bigfoot thing. He's just, and Karen Elberding, of course, was there too, which was wonderful, her and her hubby. Russ, you'd think he would have an ego. You'd think he'd be this person, but he was just always the most nice guy, accommodating and funny, just hilarious. He is. I mean, he's just, and you might not know that from watching the shows. Because he's very serious on the shows. But
well, even when he was giving his
presentation,
his talk, his presentation, he was still real professional, but he was cutting it up.
Yeah, he was having a good time, and people were having a good time talking to him.
Having good time.
He was interactive with the audience. Right. It was really good, very well done. Every speaker there was great. Kevin Llewellyn was great, and lots of amazing information. So if you ever get a chance, folks, I'm still reeling from that whole weekend.
Yeah,
it was just crazy. One of those incredible experiences that you just. When they come up, you got to grab onto them and just ride it out. And Don and I are going to be going to Kelso as well.
Kelso, Washington, the end of July, the 30th, 31st, and the 1st.
Yep, we're going to head over there.
Kelso, Washington, where somebody's in Purdy, which is closer than we are now.
Oh, okay.
Purdy, Washington. So
okay.
I have to remember who that was because, I should be flogged because I don't remember.
You're going to have to get that somewhere else.
Can I get flogged, please?
I don't do flogging.
Have
sorry.
Flogging.
No, someone will have to flog you.
Purdy, Washington just happens to be where the women's correctional facility for Washington. It just happens to be there. It's not very pretty.
Oh.
Sorry.
What would the accessories be for Brent and Don's action figures? Don's would have to be a beard comb.
And a plate of bacon grease, apparently.
Well, that's just for bait. But I don't know what mine would be. Maybe a hat, I guess. I don't know. I'm not very interested.
There goes G again.
What?
Of course Don knows where that's at. Gosh.
Oh, that's great. But yeah, I don't know. Action figures would be kind of funny. It'd be kind of wild to see yourself put into an action figure.
We already have. Nessie did
I know.
it.
Nessie made us mine is up there on the cemetery sign.
Mine's in my studio.
Don's is at his studio.
Yeah,
So they're separated, but they're
We'll be
together
back
in their
together
hearts.
soon. Yes. Forever.
Forever.
And ever. Amen.
So we got a lot of paranormal to get to, folks, and let's get to more of this. The phone lines are open if you want to call in, 720-923-0500. If you want to call in and be a part of the show, you have that opportunity.
You do.
It's in your hands. And I still feel bad, Don, about last week.
What happened last week?
Remember we got that call on Friday?
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And then we came back from break and
we totally forgot somebody.
either
was
we
on the
forgot
call.
it or it was gone. I don't know what happened, but it was just gone from both of our heads.
Yeah, it didn't feel
So
good.
I felt really bad about that. I still feel bad about that because, of course, when somebody goes to the trouble to call in,
Right.
we definitely want to bring them into the experience and bringing them into the show. So if that was you, if you're out there listening, whoever you were, please feel free to call in again. We'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Let's get to some of this paranormal.
Somebody just mentioned a friend of ours, Zach Gematria.
Oh yeah.
Somebody just mentioned him his show in the chat.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You could go.
Gematria effect with
You
that.
could go do the gematria stuff if you wanted to, but you know.
Well, no, they were just asking if somebody watched it. Apparently, there was a good episode on lately. So
Yeah, no, Zach does a great job. I think gematria is very interesting. I don't know enough about it to have an
Right,
opinion.
yeah.
It's one of those things that's like a lot of people swear by it, and they could be absolutely right. I guess for me it's hard to fathom the idea that all of this is just a bunch of numbers. You know, like it's just an algorithm, and that's what gematria sounds like to me. It's just like breaking down reality as an algorithm.
right.
And I guess if you can do that, that's pretty fascinating. But I can't personally. But anyway, let's get to some of this paranormal fun that we've got lined up, Don.
Sweet.
First things first, we're going to visit our Factinate article that we've been going through.
Oh.
Unsettling experiences that sent a chill down our spine. And these are really good. I've been really enjoying this whole article. It's huge. And it's from Factinate.com, but it's a huge accumulation of different Reddit posts that these people have farmed up, but they've done a great job, and these are really fascinating. So definitely we'll get into it here. And this is number 52 on our list, Don.
Wow.
We're on to 52, and
That's
look
a
at,
big list.
I know it's still got all of this to go.
Wow.
That's a long way. So
Unless that's a lot of ads.
no, I don't think so, because I got it open in the Brave browser, Don.
Oh.
The Brave browser don't got no ads, or very few.
Yeah. It's like Chuck Norris.
Yeah, it's the Chuck Norris of browsers. 52 is the Fear Factor, sorry. So, a little background. I'm a Navy kid, and I moved all around the East Coast until my dad retired when I was 14. When I was about 8 or 9, we lived in Newport, Rhode Island, in your standard Navy housing development. The units on our street were recently remodeled, but my best friend at the time lived in the only unit on the street that wasn't. His name was Michael, and we'd hang out all the time after school and on the weekends. He'd always sleep over at my house, but never let me stay over at his house, and I'd only been at his house twice, and I'm about to tell you why.
Oh, boy.
The second time I was at Michael's house, we were sitting in his living room watching Power Rangers. It's early afternoon, and his mom is making us lunch. Michael's mom yells out, "Gosh darn it, why didn't anybody tell me we're out of cheese?" Or something along those lines. She comes into the living room to tell us she's running to the NEX convenience store down the road to pick up some cheese, and she leaves, and we continue watching TV. We never left the chairs we were in while Michael's mom was gone. About 10 minutes later, she gets back to the house, heads into the kitchen, and screams out loud. It made both Michael and I literally jump out of our chairs in fright. Then we both started laughing because we thought she was just playing a joke on us. I turned around expecting her to be standing there, but she was still in the kitchen. She yells, "Michael, Michael," and we go running into the kitchen. "Michael, did you do this?" We both shake our heads. Every cabinet was open. The refrigerator was open. All the drawers were pulled out to the point just before they'd fall off the counter. Michael's mom tells us to go to my house and finish watching our shows. As we're leaving, she calls Michael's dad, crying.
Wow.
We get to my house and finish watching Power Rangers, and then whatever show was on after that. And Michael says he better go home and find out what's going on, and leaves. I tell my mom what happened, and she explained that Michael's mom has been experiencing lots of weird things over at the place.
Wow.
And tells me I'm not allowed back at his house. I was unaware of any of this, and my mom says it's because they don't like to talk about it.
Wow.
There's a screaming face. Looks like my ex.
I thought of Sinead O'Connor, but whatever.
Oh, no, I mean, with hair.
Oh.
But, yeah, that face. I recognize that face. I said. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, goodness.
All right. Excuse me. I got to get a drink. If I had to choose, I'd go with Paranormal Portal.
Thank you,
that's
Bobby.
good. Thank you, Bobby.
He's the one that mentioned.
Oh, very good. Well, I'm glad you choose us.
It must be Canada Day. Hi, Kai.
Hello, hello. All right. Ignorance is bliss.
Yes, it is.
When I was about 17 or 18 years old, my friend Wendy and I worked at the Elks Bingo Hall every Thursday night. As my grandma lived close to the hall and to our high school, we'd spend every Thursday night at my grandma's house after work, and we'd be in the Elks pretty late, not getting back to my grandma's until around 10 or 11 p.m. So one Thursday night, Wendy and I were chilling. I opened the fridge in the kitchen to see what's good, with Wendy standing directly behind me. As I opened the fridge, I heard a very stern female voice.
This is only Zool.
coming from the living room say, "Can I ask you a question?" Wendy and I went about getting our snacks without mentioning it.
What?
And we sat down at the kitchen table, and Wendy said, "So, when you opened the fridge a minute ago, did you hear a voice coming from the living room?" The TV was not on, nor was the radio or anything else. Wendy said that she had heard an older female voice, but she could not make out what it had said. I said what I thought I heard, and we agreed that it was too scary to think about. We just agreed that it happened, and then pretended it didn't. We had to spend the night in the house after all. Yeah, that's one of those things.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
I know. It's like, well, what? So that was by Snoo Eagles 7610. The one before it was by On Sunken Ships. Okay, I forgot to say who wrote it. Night of the Doppelganger. These stories are always interesting because
they are.
The doppelganger phenomenon, I think, is both creepy and odd and weird, and sometimes can be considered an omen for bad things to come.
Right.
Some people believe that if you see someone's doppelganger, that could mean a death is coming. I don't know. Just throwing it out there. Just what people believe. I just graduated from university, and a friend and I took an inclusive trip to Cuba. We shared a room and had beds that were spaced about 2 feet apart, and we'll call my friend Anna. On the first night around 1 a.m., she woke me up by saying, "What are you doing?" I sat up and looked over at her, and she was sitting up and staring at the foot of the bed, looking stunned. She looked over at me and then back at the foot of her bed. She paused until I said, "I thought I saw you at the foot of my bed." I convinced her she'd just been dreaming, and eventually we fell back asleep. The next day was normal. The following night was not. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I knew something was wrong right away. It wasn't fear, just something was wrong, different. I looked up, and Anna was standing at the foot of my bed. She was in her PJs, and her hair was down, just like she had been when we tucked in. When I looked at Anna's bed, she was there, fast asleep. I sat up and stared at the Anna at the foot of my bed, and then quickly glanced over to Anna asleep in her bed. I did this several times to confirm I was really awake. "Anna," I whispered. The version of her on the bed stirred and groggily said, "What? Are you in bed right now?" I asked. At this point, the Anna that was at the foot of my bed turned around and started walking across the room away from me. Yeah, the version of Anna in her bed said. I see you at the foot of my bed, I said. There was a silence from the Anna in her bed. The other Anna continued walking away. I'm going to turn on the lights, I said, and I reached over for the switch beside my bed. At that moment, the Anna walking away turned back and looked at me. She faded away about 2 seconds before I turned on the lights. For the rest of our trip, we slept with the lights on.
Wow.
That was by Lilith's Love 3, or Love, I guess. The 3 is an E. That's pretty weird. Again, I guess everything worked out okay. It wasn't necessarily a harbinger of doom, but you never know with that kind of stuff. Number 55, they watch you sleep. One night when me and my partner were spending some time at his parents' home, I was trying to sleep, and I just couldn't get comfy. I woke up at one point feeling like something was standing by the door and walking across the room towards the bed. I turned my phone light on and showed it around the room, but nobody was there. Well, I rolled over quickly and cuddled up to my partner, and I hid almost under the covers. After what felt like an eternity, I felt like I was overreacting, so I pulled the covers lower and stopped holding my partner as tight. Suddenly, a chill hit me. It was the wave of unease and terror. I felt a pressure on the bed as if somebody was sitting on the edge of the bed. The covers began reacting like they were being sat on and pulled, and I felt the bed move and my body tip like it would when somebody sits next to you on the bed. It was like whatever it was sat close to my lower back and was facing the wall away from us. Well, I was about to freak out when I felt the pressure on the bed go up and the presence leave the room. The next morning, I told my partner, and we joked a bit about being one of the relatives from the two urns downstairs. We went down for breakfast, and my partner told his mom how I got a bit of a fright last night. After hearing about what happened, she actually went pale. My partner, who was expecting her to joke about it, asked what was up. She said she was feeling uneasy because of the same thing happened to her last night. She said she had woken up and felt like someone was by the door. She had tried to forget it by putting it down to a trick of the mind and then felt someone standing over her. She turned the light on beside her bed, but nothing was there. She turned the light off and then felt something sit next to her, the same way as I had felt. She said it sat facing away and then got up a few minutes later before leaving the room. My partner's mom might joke about stuff, but she wasn't joking that day. She's not the type to make jokes at your expense or to further freak you out. That was by Corrupt Cool. That's a good picture. They did a good job with that picture. And Warchild says, hey, Brett and Don, missed you guys. Been working overnights, but always listening. Well, thank you, man.
Awesome.
We really appreciate that. That should be Paranormal Portal on those sheets.
I was going to say that. Yeah. I was going to say that.
I figured you were. Number 56, the creepy drive-by. So I was driving by myself in the afternoon, and I stopped in Amboy and snapped a picture of the city sign just to prove I was there to friends who dared me to take that route to I-40. I got back in my car and proceeded to drive. You okay?
I'm just going to sit here quietly.
Okay, all right. Dunn had a bit of an aneurysm, but he's fine. I just to prove I was there, I-40, I got back in my car, proceeded to drive up into the mountain range between Amboy and I-40. Once I reached the top, I'm driving north through a canyon with high grass on both sides of the road. Up ahead, I see some stuff in the middle of the road. As I approach, I slow down to see a Pontiac Fiero stopped sideways across both lanes. A suitcase open with clothes scattered everywhere and two bodies laying face down in the road. A man and a woman. I stop 100 feet or so away, and the hair on the back of my neck is standing up. Being a Marine, I reach under the seat and pull out a 9mm pistol and chamber around. Smart, because that's a way a lot of people get ambushed and horrible things happen. Something seemed very wrong. It looked too perfect, as if it were staged. An ambush. Was I being paranoid? Something was just wrong. Getting out of the car seemed unthinkable. I felt like I was in a horror movie. As I scanned the road, I saw a line I could drive. Past the guy on the road on his left, swerve to the right side of the woman behind the Fiero, and I'd be on the other side. I dropped it into first gear, punched it, and drove the line I planned. I passed the back of the Fiero without hitting it or either of the bodies in the road. I continued forward a couple 100 feet and slowed down so I could breathe and let my heart slow down. As I looked up in the rearview mirror, I saw that the two bodies had gotten up to their knees, and 20 or so people emerged from the tall grass on either side of the road by the car and the bodies. At that moment, my right foot smashed the gas pedal to the floor and did not let up until I had to slow down for the I-40 East on-ramp. I will never know what would have happened to me if I had gotten out of the car to check on the bodies or stop my car closer to them. Somehow, I do not think it would have been good. Sometimes real life can be scarier than a movie. That was from Awesome Josh. Yeah, I mean, that's scary. It's not paranormal, but it's horrible.
Right, yeah. It could have turned paranormal.
Yeah, he might have been channeling that story instead.
Yeah.
That was by Awesome Josh. Yeah, that's creepy stuff. There's a lot of that stuff out there. Currently, I just find that they like to friend me on Facebook and try to talk me into free cash.
Really?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
I'd like to get foot extensions.
Apparently, yeah, there's a lot of money just laying around out there, Don. And
So.
these people have the inroads, apparently. They're telling me to reach out to these strange individuals. And
Hi, have you heard of the Illuminati?
oh, I got that one too.
Did you?
Yeah, I was invited to the Illuminati on Facebook the other day.
Awesome.
It's like, how did you find me?
No, they're the Illuminati.
Yeah, I know.
The light within the darkness.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, they got a little dark of my block. Number 57, Night of the Dead. Or the Dread, rather. I've always been a night owl, and I've never been able to fall asleep easily, so I have a tendency to read, surf around, and occasionally just pace the house. Oh, sounds wonderful.
He surfs the house. Nice.
I guess so.
Surfs around the house.
I'm going to go see what the kitchen looks like now. I also grew up on a farm, so on nights when the moon is light enough, I would go and walk in the pasture if I was feeling especially restless. This is definitely one of those nights. I pulled on a pair of jeans and some shoes, figuring a walk would help me relax. Stepping out onto the porch, some movement near the barn caught my eye. In the light, I could make out the figure of a man carrying something. The sound of the door opening must have alerted him because he started coming towards me. Oh, that's creepy. The distance from our porch to the stock barn is about 25 yards, so it wasn't a terribly large distance, and even in the dim light, I was able to realize the man had a pistol. My heart racing, I backed into the house and deadbolted the door. Living in a small town in rural East Texas, the door had been unlocked before. Terrified, I stumbled into my parents' room and woke my father. I told him I'd seen a man with a pistol in our backyard, and he quickly grabbed his pistol, told my mom to call the authorities. Since we lived far out, it would be 20 or so minutes before we would see any officers, so my dad and I went out to check on the animals. When we stepped outside, it was silent. There was no sign of anyone in our yard, so we walked briskly towards the barn where I'd seen the man. We had at the time a few cattle, goats, a bad-tempered donkey, about a half a dozen chickens, and a mangy old cat, Velcro. They called the cat Velcro. None of them were to be seen. The barn was completely empty. They slept close by, and the goats weren't penned at night. But they always slept inside the barn, so something had clearly spooked them out of their sleep. We did a quick sweep of the area and found that someone had tried to force the door to the attached tool shed open and failed. But otherwise, nothing else. So we called the authorities, but they didn't find much either. I wondered if I'd imagined the whole thing. The next morning, though, I awoke to a sight that will haunt me forever. In the morning, when we went out to collect the eggs, we had a pretty horrible surprise. All of the places we'd looked, we'd never thought to check inside the chicken coop, which was a pretty large area. Apparently, whoever this guy was had decided to hide out in there when we came outside. Every one of our chickens was dead, we assumed to keep them quiet. While we were leaning against the coop, relaxing and drinking our beers, this guy had been inside it, tormenting our chickens the entire time. He was in there choking chickens, Dad.
Oh, I was waiting. I knew it was coming. I knew it.
I knew it was there. I felt him.
Wow. Dude was in the chicken coop choking his chickens.
That's horrible. What a bad guy. What a bastard, huh, Don? Oh, you only get that kind of news here, folks.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's only the kind of entertainment you can find here. So it's not real highbrow. I'll give you that. But oh, that's the low-hanging fruit. Thank you. I'll be here all night. Number 58. Rachel gets right. I have ambitions to make a ghost rider on a motorcycle. Hard to find a good skeleton. And 1/12 scale motorcycle. This was just like over 20 years ago. Lots of cool vinyl kits back then. Sounds lovely. We like creations here. All right, number 58.
No, he didn't call the next morning, Gary. It was a one-time thing.
It was just one time. He ran out of chickens. When I was a kid, I used to go and visit my uncle's lodge in the school holidays. It was on this huge property backed onto the edge of the bushland. So my brother and I always had a whole bunch of stuff to do to keep us occupied. I remember I was with my dog one day playing near an empty creek when he suddenly just took off into the trees. Everyone else had gone to town and my dad was asleep inside, so I was pretty much alone and decided to go after him. He was much quicker than I was, and I got lost pretty quickly. I was starting to get a bit upset because I couldn't find my dog and I had no idea where I was, so I turned around from where I thought I came from and tried to run back and get my dad so he could help me find him. From what I remember, I tripped over a tree root or something and fell down this embankment. Must have hit my head or something because I woke up in the bottom of this small gully, not knowing how I got there. Everything was still a bit fuzzy. What actually woke me was my dog licking my face. He was lying down right next to me. That's a good dog. How he found me, I don't know, but I was really happy to see him. But then he started barking. But it was a bark I hadn't really heard him do before. And he was still lying flat on his stomach. And that's the strangest thing I remember about that part. A really strange lying down grumble sort of bark. It scared me a little bit. I turned to see what he was looking at, and there was a guy standing there. And I remember he had this really faded cowboy hat thing on and a big chunk missing on the side. "Hey, kid, you had a pretty bad fall, but you should be all right. Let me get you back to your home," he said, in this really deep voice. Then he walked over to me, picked me up, grabbed my hand, and we started walking back through the bush.
Uh-oh.
The two things I remember from that walk were holding his gloves, which I thought was weird because it was in the middle of summer and really hot at the time. The other one was my dog was walking too close to me. I was pretty much tripping the whole way back because he kept smacking into the side of my leg on the way back. The guy didn't say anything, though. In fact, I don't actually remember him saying anything at all apart from that first time he spoke. I don't think we walked for that long because we reached the creek bed really quickly and I could hear my name being called out by my dad for dinner. I started to run straight up to the house and I remembered I forgot to thank the guy for getting me here, so I turned to yell, "Thanks, mister," but he was already gone. I just figured he was in a hurry or something, and a few days later, I was in the supermarket with my mom. It was one of those small country town ones that kind of sell everything and everyone knows everyone else there. So I'm kind of just wandering around and there's this photo up on the wall of this guy in a cowboy hat with a big chunk in the side missing. It was the guy who helped me in the woods, and I wanted to thank him or something for helping me before, so I asked the person working there who he is. His answer chilled me to the bone. Turns out he was the original owner of the store around 30 years ago, but keeled over in a freak accident in the woods where my dog and I were. Apparently back in the day he used to grow vegetables for the store himself in the middle of these woods. I don't know why. I guess the soil was more fertile or something. He went one day to see how they were growing when a really bad storm started up, and apparently he was trying to get back, but his dog, who was always went with him, fell down a really steep embankment into a small gully, so this guy went after it. While they were down there, a branch broke off a tree and hit him, breaking his back, and they didn't find him till weeks later. His dog was also found with him by his side. And that's how I found out that the man who saved me was a ghost. That was by A. Pun. Wow. That's a pretty incredible story. Huh. Creepy, but cool. I mean, that's the kind of ghost you want, right, Don?
Well, yeah, that'd be the kind I'd want around, hey, let me help you out. But, it's kind of creepy in the sense that, who is this guy? Is he an axe murderer?
Yeah, well, that's the part you don't know, but I mean,
Yeah, that's...
I mean, if he was, it'd probably be plenty easy just to take the person out while they were unconscious, but...
Yeah, but that wouldn't be any fun. No screams,
Okay, now you're making me nervous. Okay, now...
What's he talking about being...
Oh, look at the time, folks.
Oh,
We gotta
look,
go.
That's not very fun.
Dad's gotta leave.
See you, buddy.
No, I think it's those are the kind of hauntings you want. We covered one, I don't know, a week or so ago, where this person was on a dock in this fishing place and fell in, and it was springtime. The water was cold, and he didn't know how to swim. He was under the water, and suddenly he saw this little girl down there.
Oh,
Told him to look up at the sun and just
right.
keep kicking his legs.
that's right, yeah.
And so he did, and he ended up getting up high enough for his grandfather to grab him and pull him out. And it wasn't until many years later he found out that a little girl had drowned in that exact spot. And that's really cool. It's like, well, okay, if something bad happened to you, be there for anybody else and
Right.
maybe help them out.
There you go.
But I think that's pretty cool.
There's always a lesson.
There's something to take from all of this, folks. It's that there are good forces out there. It ain't all as dark as some people might try to tell you. It's just easier to ignore.
Settle down there, feller.
Settle down there, you feller. All right, number 59, hanging on the telephone. This story took place about 5 years ago, and every single word of it is 100% true.
100%.
That's how you know, Don, because they say it's 100%
I
true.
read it on the interwebs.
It said so on the story. I know it's true. To this day, my family and I still can't explain what happened. My mom, dad, and 2 sisters went on a family trip across Europe, and I stayed home with my husband and 12-month-old baby. It's 3 a.m. and my phone's ringing. It's my dad. I'm thinking, well, that's weird. Dad's usually well aware of what time it is here when he calls. Maybe he doesn't realize, so I ignore it. My phone rings again, and I'm now thinking it's somewhat urgent and I should answer, but it rings out before I can pick it up. And then I notice I have a dozen missed calls from both my mom and dad and my sisters.
Wow.
I also have a heap of messages. So now I'm wide awake and thinking the absolute worst if it were only that simple. I open up the text messages and they're all along the lines of, everything will be okay. We're going to get the next flight home to be with you. Stay strong. We love you.
Uh-oh.
I'm thinking, what the heck are they on about? My phone rings again and I answer straight away. What the heck is going on, Dad? What do all these text messages mean? Now, it takes a lot to make my dad concerned. On the phone, he's really concerned and trying to keep it together. Through gritted teeth and his voice shaking, he says, I've just been on the phone to you for an hour. What do you mean, what's going on? I'm completely dumbfounded. I went to bed at 10 p.m. and have been asleep until now. The last time I spoke with my parents was 3 days ago. How could I have possibly been on the phone with my dad for the last hour? I tell him he must be confused. I've been asleep and definitely didn't make any phone calls. Don't play games with me, my dad almost shouts. And this is where it gets scary. He tells me, I've been on the phone with you for the last hour consoling you because you just found out you're pregnant and husband has left you. What? At this point, my husband has woken up to all the commotion and is asking what's going on. Dad, what are you talking about? He's right here asleep next to me. He hasn't walked out on me and I'm definitely not pregnant. Dad's angry now and he's telling me to stop lying to him and that this isn't funny. He's demanding I tell him the truth, asking if both me and my son are okay or do I know where my husband has gone. At this point, I'm thinking I've been sleep talking. I somehow called my dad in my sleep and told him this ridiculous story. My husband doesn't believe it, saying he would have woken up to me crying on the phone to my dad if, in fact, I had done that in my sleep. I tell my dad to hang on a minute while I check if I made any calls to him. I look through my phone log, and apart from multiple missed calls, I haven't made any calls to my dad or my family for that matter. The last phone call I received was 3 days ago. I checked my husband's phone in case I somehow clambered over him and used his phone to make a ridiculous phone call. Nope, nothing. Dad, I've just checked my phone. I haven't made any calls to you. And I asked Dad if my caller ID showed up when I called him, and he says he can't remember. So he checks. A minute or so later, he says, it says unknown. I haven't received any calls from your phone number. My dad is suspicious now, thinking, who the heck did he just speak to? My bewilderment turns to anger. Has someone pranked my dad? Who would make up such a story and upset my whole family? My dad denies it, saying he knows my voice and says it was definitely me. Even my sister got on the phone and said she was there the whole time talking with me while I was in complete hysterics on the phone. She said that I had told them that my husband got angry and walked out on me when I told him I was pregnant. I didn't know where he went, and he wasn't answering my calls. I said I was scared to be home by myself with my son, so I went to stay with a friend. My sister said she could hear my friend in the background, but I wouldn't tell them which friend I was staying with when they asked. Dad asked me why I didn't go to his house, as I still have a key, and I said I didn't want to because their family friend who was staying there. The creepy part? That's completely true. If it as a stranger or a scammer, how would they know that? My mom and dad had a family friend staying with them for a few months, and they were looking after the house while they were traveling. My sister said eventually I calmed down, and I said I had to go as I didn't want to keep my friend awake any longer. I said I have to go to work the next day and needed to cancel my dentist appointment. Another true piece of information. I was in fact called into work the following day, and I had told my husband the night before I'll need to cancel my dentist appointment. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And at the same time, my family couldn't believe that I was telling them otherwise. I had to take a photo of me and my husband to prove to them everything was fine and none of that happened. We stayed on the phone with each other till 6 a.m, me convincing them that they definitely do not have to get on the next flight home. No one could make sense of what happened. My dad and family still didn't 100% believe me until they got home from Europe and saw me in the flesh. We speak about it every now and again, and I asked my dad and sister to tell me again and again exactly what I said to them over the phone. I find it fascinating and terrifying at the same time. My dad doesn't like talking about it. He just shakes his head and says, I don't know what to believe. And I don't blame him either. What he and my family heard was real. They really were on the phone with me and were all devastated at what I was telling them, ready to jump on the next flight home and telling me to stay strong, and imagine them being told a few minutes later by the real me that I had no idea what they were talking about. That was by Carla Ray 14. That's really creepy.
That is creepy.
Aye. So do you think that's a reality shift of some kind?
It seems like that, because I would say yes, because, in one reality, that might explain why the phone number came up unknown, because they got connected through the rifts in space and time, or whatever that may be, the veil. And so that's why it didn't show up as Dad's phone number. And the text messages, there were no phone calls, but they didn't mention if the text messages were actually from her dad. They just said that she missed a lot of, or she didn't verify that it was from her dad's phone.
Right.
So that was kind of weird. But, why not? I mean, because in an alternate reality, maybe they had an issue. And in the energy of the emotion of the time, it crossed the barrier.
Yeah.
And the energy and the sadness and crossed the barrier and got a hold of wrong dad.
Wrong dad. Hello, is this right dad or wrong dad?
It's
hard to tell.
Coraline. Did you ever see the movie Coraline?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That was a creepy movie. But yeah, I don't know. That's very, very, very strange. And it's, I don't know, is it some spiritual mess joke? I think there are trickster spirits. There are, you know.
That's not funny shit.
Yeah.
That's not some of it.
But I don't know. Those are really bizarre stories, and it's almost like merging of two realities. In one reality, she was going through all this hell.
Right.
And in her real reality that she was experiencing, it was just fine. But somehow her family was communicating with across those lines, and that's really, really too bad. That's very, very traumatic, I'm sure. But what is it? Is it just a dimensional thing, or is there some kind of supernatural force that's like, hey, let's, it's kind of akin to our kids, calling the supermarket and playing pranks or whatever, Yeah. In the age before caller ID, of course. But
Yeah, because now it sucks.
yeah, now it doesn't work so much.
Do you have Prince Albert in a can? Joey Anderson, I know this is you.
Yeah.
Like, oh boy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's no fun no more.
It doesn't work as well as it used to. The Jerky Boys era is over.
Yeah, done.
Unless they got IP dialing. Maybe it could work then. But anyway, We're Ready to Believe You is the next one, number 60. And it says, 12 years ago, my boyfriend and I went to the video store to rent Ghostbusters because I just found out he'd never seen it before. After we rented the movie, we went for a late lunch and we had 2 beers. He had 2 beers and I had 1. We were definitely not wasted, and we got back to my place, made popcorn, poured soft drinks over ice, and sat down on my couch. We put the movie in the DVD player and pressed play. We're not sleepy. We're still in that hyper-awake, flirtatious stage of dating. If that makes sense. It was 6 p.m. It was summertime, so the sun was shining brightly through the shades. Cut to, I suddenly come to consciousness by taking the hugest breath I've ever taken. I hear my boyfriend take a huge breath at the same time next to me. Uh-oh. It was the kind of breath you would take after coming out of the water when you've stayed under as long as possible. We're both sitting on the couch in the exact same positions, but it was dark, and the movie was long over. The glowing clock showed it was 4 a.m. We both remember the same thing. We lost consciousness at the exact same time and came back into consciousness at the exact same moment. Sounds familiar, right, Don?
Yes.
We don't know what happened. We still talk about it sometimes. It was the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. The poor guy has still never seen Ghostbusters to this day, which is too bad because I think it's a really good movie.
That's just like, we read a story like that a couple weeks ago. Like, they were, new, they were a new couple and they were sitting down to Netflix and chill, whatever that means. And they woke up naked on the bed.
Yep.
They're like,
and no memories, which really kind of defeats
the purpose of being naked on the bed.
Yeah, I mean, at least you got to walk away with a smile if things went well. But
well, at least you don't have to do a walk of shame after that.
I'm sorry, I'm usually much better than this,
but I don't remember anything.
1, 2, 3, Right Meow wrote that, so that's pretty crazy. Real life horror movie number 61. Where are we at? What time? All right, we're at 8:27 already. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Wowzers. Real life horror movie is next. I was driving in rural areas of New England. It was late, and there was a fog. It was extremely dense fog, and I was driving on back roads, and suddenly things started going wrong. First, my headlight just up and went out. Next, the car started making noises, and the check engine light came on. Yeah, this is a bad chain of events. So I pull over with nothing much around except fields and fog and dark. I looked at the engine, did what I could, but the car now wouldn't start. My cell phone had no service as well. It was just like one big cliche.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. I thought I saw the phones flicker, but I don't know if somebody called in and didn't. So if you're calling in, try again. I did see some movement over here. I don't know what it was, but anyway. But it was not, I looked at the engine, did what I could, now car wouldn't start. So I reclined my seat and decided to take a nap for a couple hours till the sun came up. When I woke up, the sun was coming up, and slowly the fog was going away. And I was on the main street of a tiny town parked in front of a motel. There were houses everywhere, and I was sure I was just off in the woods. There was a service station 50 yards up the road. I walked up to it and talked to the guy there, and he walked over to look at my car and asked me to try and start it, and it did. And both headlights were working. I drove on, but never got the name of that little village, and I couldn't find it on a map. I always felt like I was in this big setup for a horror movie that just didn't pan out.
They canceled it at the last moment.
Yep. Hey, sorry, we don't need you. Goblin Marketeer was who did that one. That's pretty wild. Ghost phones. Ooh, I don't know. Maybe it was a ghost phone. Maybe it was somebody calling in, but they changed their mind. That's always possible. Okay. There's a picture of a drill there for some reason. That's the image they picked. Let me just look here. I just want to see what else we've got to go through, because if we're down to, it says, I'll try and send the rest of the creepy people photos in the email. Oh yeah, can do that. We'll definitely look at those as we can, for sure. What else do I got? Not this one, because we went through that and ended up having the same stories.
Yeah, that happens.
It does, doesn't it? This is one that I did want to talk about. This is a UFO one. I think we're going to go to a different chain of stories. I love those stories, but we'll continue to revisit those, that list, because it's a very, very long list. And I love those stories, but I want to keep it variety friendly. And now we're going to get into some UFO stuff, folks. And this is an article. It's pretty new. It's from UFOinsight.com. And it was written on June 6th of this year by Marcus Louth, Lowth, on UFOinsight.com. And the article is The Mothership Rendezvous Over the Gulf of Mexico, the B-29 UFO Incident. Now, this is one I don't think I've ever heard, so let's see what happened in this article. In terms of UFO activity, 1952 was a busy year with waves of UFO sightings taking place across the planet.
Yep.
One of those incidents play out in early December towards the end of the 1952 wave. The incident involved an entire crew of a B-29 bomber who both visually and on radar noted 6 separate incidents as they flew back to base around 100 miles off the Louisiana coast. What's more, the incident remains unexplained as far as the United States military is concerned, at least officially. Perhaps of further interest, other sightings of very similar craft involving United States military aircraft would continue into the opening weeks of 1953, with each of them having an extraterrestrial reconnaissance feel about them. Looks like that's, if that's an artist's depiction of it, that's got to be wild. I mean, what do you feel like if you're on a plane and there's a mothership right there, just a huge, huge craft?
Right.
I mean, would you not just poop yourself
Well,
right
let's
there?
talk about how big airplanes were in 1952, though.
They weren't very big, I know, but they were still pretty
They were
big
still
for the
pretty darn
time.
large. You
Yeah.
know, they were carrying 20, 30, 40 people.
Yeah, and bombs and munitions and stuff.
True. Well, we are talking about a B-29.
B-29, yeah. Were alien beings monitoring the United States and perhaps other countries' militaries during the years following the carnage of the Second World War and the growing threats of the Cold War? You know, that's interesting because a lot of people have postulated that the firing of the nuclear devices on Hiroshima and Nagasaki may have sent out a beacon of sorts to intelligence beings that were out in space and like, whoa, what just happened? And many people believe that those nuclear detonations and subsequent testing that went on for so long after may have been actually pulling these other intelligences over to see what the hell we're up to, because, you know, whatever that means, I don't know. I'm just sharing what I have heard people say. I think that's pretty intense, and it could be possible.
Well, you know, that brings to question, the Eisenhower missing days of Eisenhower in 1953.
Sure. Yep.
So as a matter of fact, you just said that military aircraft would continue into the opening weeks of 1953.
Yep.
And so it was February 53 of when supposedly Ike went missing.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, so the Gulf of Mexico incident and the others we will examine are perhaps especially intriguing given the recent video leaks that we have been confirmed as authentic, and just might prompt researchers and investigators to examine such incidents once again almost 3/4 of a century after they took place. Returning back to base over the Gulf of Mexico. Early on the morning of 6th of December, 1952, at 5:24 a.m., Captain John Hartner was piloting his B-29 bomber over the Gulf of Mexico back to Randolph Air Force Base in Texas. Harter had radioed his radar operator, Lieutenant Sid Coleman, and asked him to get a check on the coastline on the auxiliary scope in the cockpit. As Coleman was doing this, he suddenly noticed an unknown ship on the radar. blip on the radar screen. Only a moment later, the object had moved approximately 13 miles. As Coleman watched, a rising sense of concern inside him. The unknown object was seemingly headed straight for their plane. He then, however, noticed that their paths were separating. At this point, Coleman reached for his stopwatch and shouted for the assistant radar operator, Master Sergeant Bailey, to help him track the unknown craft with the stopwatch, and Coleman quickly calculated that the object was moving at 5,240 miles per hour, an unbelievable and blistering pace. He reached for the intercom and spoke to Captain Harder, stating, "Captain, check your scope. We just clocked an unknown at over 5,000. Harder dismissed the reading as impossible, ordering Coleman to recalibrate the set, and Coleman did as he was ordered. However, a moment later, Bailey exclaimed that 2 other blips had just shown up on radar. A moment after that, another assistant radar operator, Staff Sergeant Ferris, confirmed the sighting, stating that he had them on his scope also. Coleman finished the recalibration and returned to his focus on the screen, and there were now 4 separate objects, all of which were heading straight toward them. Before he could react any further, Harder's voice came back over the intercom stating he had 4 unknowns at 12 o'clock, asking what Coleman could see on his screen. He responded that the objects were on all 3 scopes. Unknown at 3 o'clock. As Coleman was monitoring the radar screens in the back, Harder was watching the objects through the cockpit window. Suddenly, one of them approached on his right, causing him to shout out over the intercom, "Unknown at 3 o'clock." Sergeant Bailey witnessed the approach, having left his station momentarily to peer through a side window of the plane in the dark sky of the early morning. He could clearly see a glowing blue object streak past the plane at unbelievable speed. The object was nothing but a blur to Bailey due to the incredible speed with which it moved, eventually disappearing under the wing of the craft. Almost as soon as the craft had vanished into the dark early morning sky, another set of blips appeared on the radar screens, and once more, they were moving at the breakneck pace of over 5,000 miles per hour. Of more concern, however, was the fact that they were coming right at the plane from straight ahead. The operators quickly calculated that the objects would indeed miss the plane, and that any deviation from their route or the bombers would almost certainly result in a collision. Then, by 5:31 a.m., the objects appeared to have vanished for good. Several of the crew members let out a sigh of relief. However, the calm would be short-lived. Merging into a mothership. It was a little after 5:32 a.m. when another group of objects appeared on the radar screens, pulling the crew back into action. Coleman once again worked out their speed as being the same as the previous objects. The next thing they knew, the 2 objects were streaking past them on their right side. This time, Ferris took the opportunity to look out into the sky, witnessing 2 blue-white blurs speed by. While this was taking place in the cockpit, Harder was carefully monitoring the auxiliary scope, and he could see a group of 5 objects approximately 40 miles behind the B-29, and they were clearly following them and looking to cut across their path. Then he noticed them change slightly, meaning they were now headed straight for the plane. At the current speed, they would be on them in 3 seconds. As he was about to react, though, the blip suddenly slowed down to a speed that matched that of the bomber. For the next 10 seconds, they remained behind them, keeping pace with the plane. Then things got even stranger. The object suddenly moved to the side of the plane, once more at great speed. At the same time, a monstrous blip appeared on the radar screen. As the crew watched, the 5 objects raced towards the larger object, still at over 5,000 miles per hour, and then seemed to merge with what appeared to be a mothership-type object. Once all were seemingly attached, the large object moved across the radar screens at an alarming speed. In an instant, it was gone. After a few moments, Coleman's startled voice came over the intercom, and he would declare that the larger object was moving at a speed of over 9,000 miles per hour. Although there are no more appearances from the glowing disc-shaped objects, the crew remained on full alert until they landed at Randolph Air Force Base a short time later. By the time they arrived in Texas, following on from Hartley radioing the base of their experience, intelligence officers were already waiting for them. Each of the crew members were questioned repeatedly by these officers, both separately and together. However, their accounts remained exactly the same each time they told them. In his report on the case, Donald Kehoe would state that it was clear that the discs had been launched from a huge mothership for some type of reconnaissance mission. He would then go on to speculate how the mothership and the discs could have covered parts of the United States. However, he would also point out that given the discs and the mothership's tremendous speed, they could have been operating anywhere over the globe. He would further state that it was likely pure coincidence that the rendezvous point happened to be the Gulf of Mexico, where the B-29 was flying. Furthermore, it was likely that one unit or batch of discs had gone to observe or track the plane. Kehoe would also point out that the radar readings combined with visual sighting that all but confirmed the incident as genuine and credible. What is also intriguing is that around 48 hours earlier in Texas, another near miss with a military plane occurred, and it is there where we will turn our attention next. Connections to the Laredo incident only 48 hours earlier? On the evening of the 4th of December 1952 at just before 9 p.m., another incident with a UFO involved another United States pilot operating out of nearby Laredo Air Force Base in Texas on the night in question. Lieutenant Robert Arnold, initially reported in the Blue Book files under the pseudonym Earl Fogel, was piloting a T-28 aircraft as part of his AFR 60-2 requirements. He had been in the air for around 2 hours when he began his journey back to base. While waiting for permission to land from the control tower, he circled the base below him, and in fact, due to the particularly heavy traffic, he would circle the base for around 45 minutes. It was as he was asking ground control how much longer he was required to remain aloft that Arnold noticed a strong bluish light in the distance moving with considerable speed. From his position, the glowing object appeared to be approximately 2 miles southwest of the airbase at around 4,000 feet below Arnold's altitude. At first, Arnold thought that the light must be an approaching jet. However, when he noticed that no details or features of a jet were present on the object, he realized it was something more out of the ordinary. The object continued moving in southeasterly direction as Arnold steered his plane in order to keep it in view. Suddenly, the strange craft rose in an instant to the same altitude as Arnold, before embarking on what appeared to be a circling of the airbase at terrific speed. When it reached the north side of the base, the object suddenly dropped to an altitude of around 2,000 feet. It would move out over the city of Laredo before suddenly beginning climbing at unbelievable speed to approximately 15,000 feet. An object within yards of the wing. The object remained at this altitude for several moments before dropping once again to the same altitude as Arnold, and then it began in his direction. Arnold noticed that the object appeared to waver slightly, as if determining on which side of his aircraft to pass. The next thing he knew, the object was passing within 50 yards of his left wing of his plane. He noted that as it passed, he could see a blurred reddish-blue haze, very similar to the blue blurs reported by the crew of the B-29 only 2 days later. The report states that things happened so rapidly that Lieutenant Arnold was unable to take any evasive action. The moment he did gather his thoughts a second later, he turned his plane once more in order to keep the craft in his sight. Once more, he noticed that the object was accelerating to a high altitude of around 15,000 feet, and then the object began to descend once more, only this time it appeared as though it was looking to approach Arnold's plane head-on. Arnold would turn off his running lights and drop to an altitude of around 1,500 feet. He managed to keep the object in his sights. While doing so, noticed that it had seemingly given up the chase and was instead heading out of sight at an extremely rapid pace. In total, the object remained in sight of Arnold for around 7 minutes. By 9:05 p.m., Arnold landed safely at Laredo Air Force Base. He would immediately report the incident to his superiors. Similar sightings in early 1953. There were also similar sightings that unfolded in the opening weeks of 1953, only weeks after the above incidents. All of them involved United States military aircraft, and the vast majority remarkably similar unidentified objects, while only speculation It doesn't take too much of a stretch of the imagination to suspect such accounts are connected. We start with a sighting that featured multiple witnesses and also occurred in the state of Texas. On the 6th of January, a little after 1 a.m., just outside of Dallas, Texas, multiple reports were received of a strange light moving in the night sky. Shortly after the initial call at around 1:30 a.m., another report came from a resident of Paris, Texas, who claimed that he had chased the object with his car for 30 minutes. Several of the witnesses would report an arrow-shaped object with a blue-green light at what appeared to be the front and a red light that changed to orange underneath. The last visual sighting took place over the city of Dallas, where the object seemingly disappeared. A witness at Perrin Tower in Sherman, Texas, claimed that he witnessed the craft fade from sight going east. According to the Air Intelligence Information Report in the Project Blue Book files, several of the reports conflicted with each other in terms of direction the object was moving and its estimated altitude. What's more, Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma would also report that they had an unidentified object on the radar around 30 miles southwest of Paris, Texas. And they would estimate the object was moving at just short of 700 miles per hour and was flying at an altitude of 7,500 feet.
Wow.
The object remained on the screens for about 30 minutes before simply fading away. Because of the different directions of the objects, one on radar, one witnessed visually, it was determined that it must have been at least two strange objects over Texas that night. And when we recall the claims of motherships sending out scouter-type vehicles, we might consider the possibility that this might have been the case here. Investigation showed that there was no planned flights in the region that evening, and furthermore, when the local police were contacted, they revealed not only had they received multiple calls that evening of the strange glowing object, but that several of their officers on patrol duty also spotted it and reported it to their dispatcher. The same was stated by the local fire department, who claimed that the radio dispatcher and several firemen witnessed the object overhead, and one of these firemen later stated to a local newspaper that he wished he had never seen it, adding, "It's too fantastic and now there'll be a lot of talk." Another witness claimed to have seen the object floating in the sky as he looked out of the window at the city hall. A pilot with almost 3 decades of experience in aviation at the control tower of Love Field, who also witnessed it, claimed that he should know a plane or a start by now. And this wasn't either. I'm not sure what a start is, but perhaps one of the best sightings, though, came from a meteorologist at the Dallas weather station who would view the object through a 6-power telescope, and he would state that it looked elongated. It was as it was vertical, standing on end, and it had a definite impression of dimension. At first, it changed color rapidly, from white to blue and then to red and green, and later it remained white with a red spot on the underside. Of course, this detailed description, viewed through a telescope no less, matched many of those that had come from the general public, and interestingly, the meteorologist also stated that there was a possibility, in his opinion, this was a mothership for smaller saucers traveling in our orbit. Once again, the possibility of an alien mothership is mentioned. The sighting remains unexplained. However, 3 days later, at the evening of the 9th of January, another sighting of a glowing object was observed, and this time west in California. At just before 7:30 p.m. on the evening of the 9th of January, the crew of the B-29 bomber over Santa Ana in California witnessed a V formation of blue-white lights approach their plane. They matched the plane's altitude for a few moments before fading away again into the night. According to Pilot Lieutenant Lowell D. Brandt's statement, it was co-pilot Lieutenant Charles Lovelace who had drawn his attention to the lights. The official report states that the lights approached the aircraft with such rapid rate of closure that Brandt started to turn to the left, and as he did so, it appeared the lights were holding their position before they suddenly rose slightly and disappeared in what seemed to be an instant. In total, the lights were in sight for no more than 5 seconds, and Brandt and Lovelace reported they heard no sound whatsoever from the mysterious objects. The weather at the time of the incident was clear, and each pilot was certain that what they had seen was not a reflective illusion. It wasn't ice crystals, Don.
Apparently not.
Records show that there was no other aircraft in the area at the time of the sighting. When did the story take place in night? Well, the story is from June of this year, but these sightings are from the 50s, 1950s,
Right.
52 and 53. There were also, however, no other witnesses from the ground who might have observed the mysterious objects, and there were no reports of the strange objects from the many control towers, military and civilian, in the region. Around 3 weeks later, another intriguing sighting occurred on the other side of the United States. This is a long article. Just before 10 a.m. on the morning of the 29th of January, the pilots of an F-94 jet witnessed a gray oval UFO over Presque Isle in Maine. According to the report, the pilot, Lieutenant Fred Getting, would witness the object first and would quickly alert his radar observer, Lieutenant Howard Kelly. The F-94 was flying at an altitude of around 23,000 feet, with the bizarre object slightly above them. In his statement, Kelly would offer that Getting had to point it out repeatedly before he finally saw the object. He had turned off his set due to generator difficulties. He would describe the object as being thin and oval and gray in color, elaborating further that it was well-defined and dull-colored, and that it was not shiny or luminous. He would continue that there were no visible means of propulsion, nor any smoke or of contrails. Getting would echo these descriptions in his own statement, describing the objects as clearly oval and thin-shaped, and very definitive and clearly defined shape. He would also, like his co-pilot, claim that the object did not shine or give off light. Getting began to chase the oval-shaped craft in an attempt to intercept it. However, after several minutes of doing so, covering a distance of around 40 miles, low fuel levels would force him to break off from the chase and return to base. According to Air Intelligence Information Report, 2 other unnamed pilots also witnessed the strange craft. Perhaps questionably, the Blue Book investigators would state that the object was most likely Venus.
Wow.
It's always Venus. And this, despite the time of the sighting and the detailed description from Getting and Kelly, it was a conclusion that many rejected. There were several incidents of similar. How long is this? It's quite a bit longer. Hope you're not busy. Is that enough, Don?
Yeah, it's yeah.
What time is it?
It's 51.
8:51.
Yep.
Let me just read this one. That's the one I just read, right? I don't know where I left off. I'm going to copy this article, folks. Unfortunately, we won't have enough time to actually finish it. But if anybody wants to continue reading it, it's very interesting, incredibly interesting, because these are military observations. So it's in the chat there if you want to check it out. Paranormal Portal. Thanks. I wasn't alive, but I live in Dallas, and I've seen at least 3 UFOs. Very cool. Yeah, I've seen UFOs myself, and I have no doubt that they're there, that they're coming here. I don't know what they're doing, but I know they're here. I've seen it. What can I say? And, with that, I don't know. It's one of those things, I guess, I'd like to believe they're here,
Right.
observing, just checking up on us, see what's going on, see what we're doing, what are we capable of, how far have we come, because I'm pretty sure most of them have probably been here throughout our whole quote-unquote evolution as a species,
Right.
Like, I believe they've probably been coming and going and keeping tabs on what we're up to, so.
Well, and all this just makes sense leading up to that whole, Eisenhower thing.
Yeah, it
So
does. It's kind of a
makes
neat,
perfect sense.
yeah, it's a neat continuation of events.
Right.
Obviously, there was a lot of these things in the area doing whatever it is they're doing, and so I suppose, and maybe it does tie back to the nuclear capabilities that
Right.
they realized that, hey, we're reaching a real critical point here. We've got to make contact with them and try to keep all this in check. So maybe that's why they reached out to the Eisenhower administration and so on and so forth. But, it's all speculation. I don't know. I mean, it's all out there. And you can certainly believe whatever you like. Send us your stories. Absolutely. Pazuzu, I've never seen a UFO, but I've had a face-to-face with a gray. Oof. That's pretty powerful, Paz.
Yeah. Well, I've talked to a guy who had a face-to-face with the mantis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the mantis brought a laptop with him to the gentleman, and they sat down. This is in 1995, by the way. It was a laptop smaller than what we've got now, and they communicated through the laptop.
Really?
Yeah, that's the story.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's totally possible, I guess. How big is our universe? How much is going on that we just have no idea about?
Right.
Hell, we don't even know what's going on in our own country because everything is spun and given a spin. So we don't really even know what's going on in our neighborhoods. But how big is all of this? It's huge. And there's a lot going on that we just don't know about.
Can't comprehend.
Yeah, we just can't comprehend. But I think it's incredibly interesting. And hell, I'd love the opportunity to sit down with a mantis or a gray and have a talk.
Right.
I don't want to be probed.
You don't want.
I've managed to live.
Going on.
I don't want. Yeah, I don't want any anal coring or anything like that. I just have a nice talk. We'll share a drink and some good stories and just have a chat. Mine was just over 2 years ago. Wow.
Well, we have this thing called a podcast.
Yes, Paz. We have a podcast. I'd love to interview you and hear about that experience. That's pretty cool. The Earth and their giant zoo. We're all in their animals, and they do aerial tours of us. Maybe, maybe. I mean, the whole prison planet idea. Maybe we're kept here because of our destructive tendencies. I don't know.
Go figure.
I mean, who knows? God only knows. But it probably so. No.
Nessie.
Oh, Nessie.
Goodness.
I can't even repeat that.
I agree, though. Anyhow. Gotta have the clap for that one. All right, anyhow. Stop pushing my buttons, Brent.
Those are my buttons, brother.
Whatever.
But whatever you believe, there's no questioner out there. I'll email you.
Cool.
I've got a block on international calls. Oh, well, if you've got Skype paths, we can make it work. Or some similar thing like that. We can definitely communicate somehow. These are the interwebs. There's all kinds of magic out there. So we can do it. But yeah, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this installment of the Paranormal Portal. I've always enjoyed bringing them to you every time. So I'd love to, hear from all of you that have experiences, of course. But
absolutely.
Don, what do you got to say for yourself?
Too effing hot.
It is too freaking hot. That's what the F stands for.
That's what I said.
Yep. Too freaking hot.
So, but Teespring for your gear. And we're going to be in Kelso, Washington, the July 30th, 31st, and 1st.
Of August. Okay. Of August.
So if you're over in that area, we'll be there.
We'll be there, and please stop. We're not going to have a booth or anything. We're just going to
be.
We're going to be free agents wandering around. But
right.
If you're in the neighborhood, it's a pretty big event over there. So we'll be looking for you if you're in the neighborhood.
It's probably going to be freaking hot there too.
Maybe not then. Maybe not then. Maybe. I'm just saying maybe.
I'm hoping.
I'm sure they got air conditioning.
Yeah. Just as long as a little bit of rain would be great.
Yeah. Brent, Don, thanks for the great show. You're welcome, Titan. You are welcome. So, but ladies and gentlemen, that's what we know for now. We hope you had a good time.
Get me off screen.
Oh, let's do it together.
How far is Kelso? Kelso is the other side of the state down by Longview, which is just above Portland.
So it's in the Portland neighborhood in Washington, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Washington. So we'll be there, wandering through the hordes of people and having a good time, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, we plan to.
We plan to have fun, and it should be a good time. So, Pat says he's got quite a few experiences. Well, there you go, brother. Reach out to me via email. We'll get in touch, figure it out. But
if you actually make it, you can hang out with us. We'll be good.
All right. So
Justin can be there in a blink. Yeah, he's right across the river.
Justin could probably throw a rock and hit it.
Probably. Well, I don't know. That bridge is pretty high and long. So there you go.
I don't know if there's an event page for it.
There is. It's the Kelso. Let me.
Don's gonna dig. Don's gonna dig for it. Find you some information, but yeah, it'll be up just by Portland there. We're just gonna be wandering around. We're not getting a booth, and being stationed.
Squatch Fest 2021.
Squatch Fest 2021. Now we did hear. So Squatch Fest 2021. Just do a Google for it. We did hear that the International is not going to happen this year. So that's unfortunate. We're really looking forward to that. But hopefully they'll get that rolling next year again because that's one we're real excited about attending. And it's funny how fast this year is going, though, right, Don?
Right? Yeah, God. It's
we're
crazy.
already in knocking on July. That's it. Tomorrow's July, right?
Oh, geez, it is.
Yeah. Tomorrow's July.
Wow. Yep.
So there you have it, folks. Lots coming up. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for us. We hope you had a good journey. Thank you so much for joining us, all of you who joined us. And if you didn't join us, well, join us when you can. We'd love for you to stop in and be a part of the journey. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit the like, if you would, on your way out. Please subscribe. Ring the bell so you know when we go live. When we're doing the events like that, we're just going to be streaming when we can now in the intermittently. Yeah, whenever we have the opportunity. I'm not going to stream the whole event, but we'll just stream us wandering around and meeting people. So I'm going to be, just as a little bit of foreshadowing, the week of the 12th, I'm going to be gone until the next week. I got to take care of some things, so I'm going to be plenty busy then. There won't be live shows, but perhaps I'll drop a stream or two during that week, but I've got a lot of things to take care of, so I've got to step back and do those things. So don't look for any activity on the week of the 12th. But after that, of course, we'll be back at it. It'll probably be actually the week of the 12th and half of the next week. So it's a week and a half. Okay, There we go. All right. So you get a break, and we have over 1,000 episodes now, ladies and gentlemen, on YouTube. So if you ever need a portal fix,
there's lots out
there. Check out the playlist. Wow. There's over 1,000 episodes
and
down.
Don't forget the podcast too.
And especially the podcast.
Especially what was it? What was in the strange?
The long strange trip.
Long strange trip
with Mr. Ruger Ridge, folks. So there's always some new activity going on the podcast as well. So anyway, Donna, anything else in close, or are you good?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. All right. Love y'all. Have a great night. And we'll talk to you soon.
Good night.